Hi, this is To the Right House, a new podcast series by the Global Campus of Human Rights. From skepticism to hope, from utopia to empathy, we discuss human rights, riding waves, but also signalling where the light is. This podcast was recorded in Venice, Italy, on the island of Lido, at the Global Campus headquarters.
Hello and welcome to Survivor Moments for Justice, a new podcast series of the Global Campus of Human Rights. My name is Thomas Unger, and in this first episode, I have the big pleasure to talk with Ram Bhandari about solidarity networks. Ram has decades of experience, really, working with survivor networks in Nepal and elsewhere, particularly with the families of the disappeared and victims of conflict, with whom he develops strategies to advance truth-telling and justice. Ram, who is also a friend of mine, is also the founder of the International Network of Victims and Survivors of Serious Human Rights Violations called Inovas. Ram, it's a real pleasure to be with you here today.
Thank you, Thomas. It's my pleasure too.
So I think really it's important and key to lead conversations these days to promote human rights and rule of law. So a bit conversation against the current backlash. And I think we will come back to this global backlash against human rights and human rights in a minute. But let me start a bit more personal, and I hope you forgive me for that, Ram.
Okay.
Um, you know, you have been a victim also of human rights violations in your home country, Nepal. And what would be interesting for me and maybe also for the listeners is what was the moment when you got active, and why did you get active? What inspired you? Who supported you? If you could contextualize a little bit the moment of agency for us, yeah, that would be nice.
Thank you, Thomas. So I would introduce myself also, as a victim, survivor, and activist, in the victims movement. And as a leader of a victim movement and activist, I can tell you the fight for justice is hard and it is too long. And then in my personal case, Nepal went through 10 years civil war between 1996 and 2006. And during the conflict period, I was myself became victim, and my father was a school teacher. He was forcibly taken away and disappeared by the state forces in 2001. And after that, I became involved in the truth seeking and human rights advocacy. And gradually, I became an activist and a visible leader in the victims movement. That's my very brief history from my past, and then it's very well connected with the Nepal's conflict and post-conflict victims movement. Where I stand today as a leader of the victims movement and practitioners in the grassroots activism, and also involved in international activism. And the motivation is often a personal and emotional. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that it's an emotional attachment to the cause as well as inspiration from the continued fight led by victims and their collective action in different places. We need the long-term support and solidarity of others to advance the movement and sustain victims' agenda for justice. I mean, and also in the long process of the justice struggle, of course, victims and survivors, they seek for support and solidarity from like-minded individuals, organizations, network, and international agencies in the movement, those, who are and working in human rights and uh, the peace uh, and the peace activism.
Yeah. No, I think that's also how I got to know you. I mean, we also did both, I think, the masters here in Venice, no, of the Global Human Rights Campus. So we share that experience also. And
Mhm.
I think both of us have worked for so many years on human rights. And what really strikes me is what you said about the importance of movements, no? So, I mean,
Mhm.
to that victims, survivors have this kind of like internal need to connect, to share, to be together, no? And I think that is always that gave me a lot of inspiration. But I always, in
Mhm.
conversations we had, I know that you are also really part of doing something about
Uh-huh.
this. No, you basically have set up movements, you
Mhm.
worked with movements. I think that was always key to your work. Could you say a few words maybe about what the contributions of these movements are? Why are they so important? Why are they so relevant also today?
Mhm. I think this is important, to raise, support and also to gain momentum and agency in the movement. And the victims and survivor are, associated and within each other, and the associate victim groups turn collective resistance has helped transform victims into social leaders and political actors in many contexts and gain agency in their collective advocacy. And victim movements have contributed to strengthen the fight against impunity through formal and informal initiatives, through policy reforms, institutional setup, public shaming and social intervention kind of modality also in their activism. I think my daily work is usually driven by the motivation to create a justice atmosphere and to help others. I'm emotionally, I'm involved in the rights of the people and their struggle for justice at local context and international situations. It comes from our own act that produces the power of love, compassion, solidarity, and uh, I mean, helping other human beings through connecting with their cause, which is larger, healing power for everyone around us. That I think. So we need to link with, different actors in activism, in policy making,
Yeah.
and also in academia. So these are important to link all actors, to gain solidarity and then strengthen solidarity discourse in the process.
Yeah, and I think you said something so crucial is that, we often see victims as this helpless
Mhm.
individual we need to help, we need to take care of, no? But what the
Mhm.
story you are telling is one of a very of agency, is a
Mhm.
story of making a difference, to contributing to change. Can you give a specific example, maybe also from your own country, what you have done, what showed this agency, just as a source of inspiration, maybe?
Yes, we have plenty of examples, in this questions. There have been some specific achievements of the victims movement. For example, in Nepal, victims and survivors advocacy has resulted in changes to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission Act, the exposure of and then disbanding of politicized commission in our context, and the legal fight has been positive and helped victim advocacy, the political activism transform victims becoming visible political actors in the policy lobbying. The local governments in Nepal have been very supportive to the local victims, both formal and informal actions led by survivor groups. The effective and local political power of victims movements have gained political agency and repowered them as important actors in the field for victims movements theory of change. These are some of the examples. And also however, in the long battle of justice, we
Mm,
do not yet have full accountability. The
mm,
government's attempt to forget and to provide amnesty to the perpetrators has created new conflicts and tensions in different contexts. On
yeah.
the other hand, various communities have produced leaders, the victims and survivors transformed by action to impact and questioning the issue of accountability.
Yeah, what I always valued, thank you, Ram. I think that was very illustrative. And what I always valued in working with victims movements in different contexts is that like victims movements are able to to juggle so many different needs and demands. When the higher you go up internationally, we start to siloing. We start to say, look, I mean, only criminal justice is important or only
Mhm.
reparation is important. But I always found that victims have this ability to kind of have this very holistic, broad agenda around justice. And I mean, in particular, also when you look at an organization like Inovas, the one you
Mhm.
have been founding, the different needs, the different experiences, and they can all be connected in a way, no? And I think
Mhm.
that is very inspiring. I think from
Mhm.
victims movements, I have seen that you can overcome these silos. And you kind of
Mhm.
get to the real needs victims have. But let me move now. I mean, Ram, I mean, we are also we live in a changing world, no? I mean,
Mhm.
you just need to look at the news and you see that impunity is normalized today again.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
global legal structure is disappearing. This was a
Mhm.
structure victims put a lot of
Yeah.
emphasis in,
Mhm.
to be recognized and to fight for, but it's dismantled in front of our
Mhm.
eyes. How do you see this? Is the glass half empty now? Do we need to be pessimistic? How do you see the global changes and shifts from your perspective?
I think it's very disappointing. I mean, when we see and examine the role of powerful states and their, inaction, in implementing international law and human rights standards, it's very disappointing. But on the other side, the very marginalized populations, victim and survivor-led movements, they are rising. They are creating their own spaces and momentum. They are intervening and contributing in policy reforms and also making some justice environment. These are I mean exciting, and also how how have victim movements in Nepal and outside Nepal contributed to fight against impunity. I mean, for example, that the Syrian victims movements has raised global attention, and become crucial to set up independent inquiry commission both at local level and the international level, and they are playing important role, even outside Syria. And also, it's very inspiring to learn from the Latin American, family-led, survivor-led movement. They have contributed to change global policies and then create international mechanism for justice. These are very important. And again, I mean, we live in a time of unprecedented human rights crisis.
Mhm.
And this seems that everywhere in the world, in different contexts, different actors such as powerful states to non-state militias to international terrorist groups are abusing human rights on an unprecedented scale. Ongoing conflicts around the world today have tested the very limits of the international rules-based order around the war and conflict, calling into, question the international community's ability or
Mhm.
even willingness to hold to account perpetrators of egregious, human rights abuses, brutal counter-terrorism campaigns and insurgencies, coups and crackdowns have seen people around the world endure the scourges of arbitrary arrest, enforced disappearances, killings, rape, and other forms of gender-based violence and other serious, human rights and abuses. I think, in this also, I think myself and I ask, often, how does this impact the work of victims and their movement?
Mhm.
Has impacted a lot, to, and the weekend, and then, keeping, passive the, victims movement and isolated from mainstream, and without, moral, technical, and financial support and facilitations, by the other, different organization. And then there are some, impacts, but even though, victims, survivors, they are leading the, movements and standing for their rights together, there is a greater connection, between victims and survivors from
Mhm.
different parts of the world. That's why, as you mentioned earlier, that how, Innovas
Mhm.
encourages and then empowers each other and then to support each other, this kind of, solidarity network and solidarity discourses between other groups, between academia, policymakers, expert agencies. We need this, more kind of solidarity approaches.
Yeah, so you're still calling for this solidarity networks, basically, and that includes victims, survivors, but also other actors that believe in justice, human rights, fighting impunity, and they have it more difficult today because their space is shrinking or
Mhm.
slowly disappearing. But I think we have experiences, no, of the past. I always think, the idea of resistance against impunity is nothing new. So, I mean, their networks have existed in the past, and they are existing now, and they will exist in the future. So, I think that gives some hope at least. But you also see that the current trend is making your space to work smaller. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are many challenges and there are very narrow spaces. In many cases, in the past experiences, even the victim survivors' created spaces, have been stolen, manipulated in many ways, on behalf of victims, but um, you know, out of out of the victims' participation, that's the, another, sad realities, in the different contexts. It can all feel, overwhelming as if there is a little hope left to end impunity. But rather than asking, what is the point in fighting for justice when so many injustices are being perpetrated on a regular basis, the better question is what is the best way to fight for justice and accountability? You know,
Mhm.
and then to answer this question is collective solidarity.
Yeah, collective solidarity. And
Mhm.
I think if you could say a few words about Inovas, because this is really something interesting, new, where groups from different countries came together to form a network. If you could say just a few words about this, how did this come about? What is Inovas currently doing? It would be nice to have a
Mhm.
concrete idea or example here. Huh?
It's very clear that the Innovas was born, in this context, in the overhaul challenge, and then scrutinizing the victims' space at local and international level, and then still the world, very has done less, for the victims and survivors, and then many organizations or peace peace activists and workers, they often, speak on behalf of victims, but not for the victims, and not empowering them as a leaders. And then, they have lost their, agency, That was the reason. And then in this same case, the victim and survivor activists from different contexts, they have come together and then they share their grievances and then they found themselves. And then
Yeah.
maybe, they can lead international campaign or movement purely led by victim and survivors. And that way, Innovas born to represent them in the global policy forums and also to intervene in the, justice movement, together. And also, I mean, to reflect the concept of collective solidarity. And
Mhm.
then Innovas born, and then now, Innovas has more than 20 members from around the world, and then they are sharing each other, they are helping each other, and also they are involved in policy making, they are involved in policy lobbying, they are involved in, reforming global justice courses, in ICC, in the United Nations level, in the regional bodies, including European Union and African Union, in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, in today in conflict zones from Gaza to Ukraine to Ethiopia. There are, we are, I'm encouraging individual victim activists, their small groups, their survivor-led movements. They are all coming together. So it's a real international voice to represent their agenda, also, and also to gain international agencies. And it's a kind of, Innovas, acts today as a solidarity network to represent victims and survivors. And then they are, giving, international voices and global
Yeah.
solidarity, to the movements around the world.
Yeah,
And
that's
and also and also in the past, in the recent past, we have also, produced some knowledge in terms of, victim-centered reparation, and then victim participation in justice processes. These are very, important things for the victims movement. what kind of reparation they need and seek for, and then what kind of participation they look for in the justice processes. And so the real victim participation, and then even, I mean, Inovas raises for the structural participations. They need their own representation in the justice mechanism, in justice bodies, at both at an international and local context. So these are very important, and Inovas also producing knowledges and also showing the what kind of facilitation they need, what kind of partnership and strategic support they'll, I mean, look for. And so from the very beginning, and Innovas has developed a very exemplary partnership, I mean, with the, I mean, one organization based in The Hague called Impunity Watch. I mean, and Innovas and Impunity was are working together and then showing the other organization and the world that, look, I mean, what kind of strategic partnership victims organization and their network need, how we can build, the partnership, and then how we can develop some sort of partnership with and other organization. Many victim organizations, and they have failed that, and in their own context in different regions, in many cases they have been manipulated by powerful actors,
Yeah.
and donors, and also the big, I mean, NGOs, and they failed that, marginalized. They failed that they have no voice, no, I mean, equal partnership, and no, I mean, equal role in building agencies. And so now, I mean, Innovas is just, I mean, practicing how victim and survivors can build, capacitate themselves, and I mean, as a new leader, justice riders in the justice struggles. And so, and they can lead, I mean, they can produce knowledge, and then they can build partnership, and together also, I mean, they can, create some, I mean, spaces at different level, from local to national to international level. And also, I mean, they can produce some knowledge based on their understanding, based on their circumstances, based on their things. So Innova is also kind of developing, I mean, victims and survivors movement strategy. Not only strategies, but also I mean, it is also, I'm developing their own terminology in the justice field, And so the victim participation and the reparation, this, I mean, guiding, guiding principles, they have produced. And then now also, I mean, we have published, and disseminated, I mean, widely on different languages. And then any, and persons or movements, groups, and they would be interested, to learn about victim participation, uh, and guiding principles, and the reparation policies for the victims in post-conflict, I mean, context. I mean, you can find it in different languages, in Spanish, in Arabic, in French, and English. And also, I mean, we are translating it into, I mean, action and implementation. And so we are disseminating, I mean, widely up to the, various victim groups around the world.
Yeah, that's super. I mean, when I listen to you, it's obviously. I mean, we have this grim picture over us, and which is this kind of changing world, world based on influence zones, interest based, less multilateralism. But you really depict an alternative world, and I think that's really nice to hear that that victims should be part of this alternative thinking. And I think in the past, I think that was one of the big criticism is that victims were marginalized a bit on the sideline. And I think since I know you, you always tell me also that that victims can be experts because they know their own struggle. I mean, they basically have lived and they also know what change means, no? And I think to create these alternatives in a world where we think there are no alternatives than power politics is very, very important. And that moves me already to the last part, maybe to think about avenues, pathways. How can we challenge what's currently going on globally? No, and I mean, you mentioned solidarity, you mentioned participation, you mentioned expertise of victims that they should be heard. How should we do that? What processes need to be there? What structures do we need to create? It seems that the UN is in a crisis. Would have been always the classical kind of avenue we take, but it's becoming less and less relevant. And unfortunately, I believe in the UN, but it has less and less teeth or is absent in a lot of conflicts. So, what to do? What alternative processes to create? Where to go? You mentioned the regional level, you mentioned the local level. Explain to us a little bit pathways you see, concrete pathways or processes you think we should take to challenge the status quo.
In my experience, the victim and survivor-led movements around the globe, both at local and national level, in many contexts, they have already built and created alternative path to justice. That is, they have a vision, vision for justice. What justice does look like, they have defined themselves. But the world has not, has done not so far, for their for them to listen. And so, we need to create more spaces and then we need to create more discourses on this. And then it should be interdisciplinary. And then we all actors must keep victims at the center. These are essential. Whatever we call participation, agency, or their role to be increased. And these are important. But the victims and survivors' work and their movements around the world today is essential for the collective fight to keep their justice agenda alive. This is very important. We need to keep
Mm,
alive the agenda,
mm,
what they seek for, and to sustain survivor led struggles to secure their rights and to enhance their role in justice processes to create this kind of discourses. I again focus solidarity discourses across the world,
mm,
between different actors, between victims and experts, between victims and policymakers, between victims and donors, between victims and the different, donor agencies, including the United Nations. Why,
mm,
UN bodies failed in the past.
mm,
Things are very clear that they haven't heard much from the victims. For example, the United Nations and working group on enforced disappearances was
mm,
created by the efforts of Latin American mothers, the Plaza de Mayo, mothers of the Argentina, and also some victims movement from Latin American context. They created some momentum, and then they impacted, to come up with the working group ideas. But in the long run, when we look at it in the past 40 years, today is the very it's a passive, it's a senseless, and then not beneficial for the victims' families and the survivors. So these are very clear there. So all the agencies, including United Nations and all actors around the globe, they must listen voices of the victims, and they all actors must support survivor-led struggles and movements to be advanced. These are important. Often their activism is at risk. So another challenges. I and many other activists in the field, they they daily face threats. Hear of abuses against them, imprisonment, torture, killings, disappearance, sexual abuses, and other inhuman attempts to silence their voices that we have seen. Some of our activists, they are in exile, they are in prison, and they are, suffering every moment. So they need support, they need protection, and they need solidarity. And so these are, important things that, we need to listen. And I must not, ever give up the fight for the cause and human dignity. This is also important, the dignity. When the movement is dignified and, receives support from, different, actors, and then they feel that I'm not alone, and then there
mm,
are people taking care of these issues alive, and then there are people around the world, and they speak out, every day, for the common cause, to secure their rights, to protect their, defending the rights, and also support them. These are important things. And we need to continue giving a voice to the voiceless and making an international shield against injustice and deep-rooted impunity. So
mm,
not only solidarity, but we need to have one international shield. Where people feel that, oh, I'm protected. I'm
mm.
also, getting support from others. So I think these are important.
Yes, and I mean, I wanted to ask you, do you see someone that is listening? Do you have an example maybe where you see, look, someone was listening? Is it that you could think about an example, maybe within international organizations or with certain donors or certain actors? Do you find places where victims are listened to?
Yeah, there are few, but I mean there are people, organizations, and or experts. They are listening and they are taking care, through their voices, through their writings, through their small support, through their encouragement and technical support and partnership. Like Inovas receives a little support and technical strategic support from impunity was like this kind of organization. We need to produce and convince and develop partnership with more organization, even within organization level, even within donors group, even within international actors level. Also we need to find like-minded people, and also kind of solidarity movement. We need to strengthen solidarity movement, and then we need to strengthen and advance collective action and creating more spaces for victims and survivors like this. Also, we need to create some support structures, even at international level, people's organization. And then we can, create and produce more. Spaces, for them. I think these are important, and also, and then we need to create some international movement and momentum for justice, even while lobbying, even at the United Nations level or organization level, donors level, governments level. And then we can find some good people with dignity, those who respect human rights, those who really interested to support marginalized groups and survivor-led movements, around the world. And then we can convince them, they can lobby. So that's why we need to have a very strategic political activism to
Mm,
seek
yeah.
the current trends of denial or some
Yes.
uh,
And I
leadership.
think it's just because I what you just said, it just resembled a lot what you said is that you need the political advocacy, no? Because
Mhm. Yeah,
for years we were thinking human rights or justice could be engineered, no? You just
yeah,
put a
yeah,
project there,
yeah,
you know, you call in a few experts that try to fix the situation, but it's political work, human rights, no?
yeah,
I think
yeah,
this
yeah.
is what you are also doing and what you are also saying,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
we need to
yeah, yeah,
increase that
yeah,
political
yeah,
work.
yeah. And I also believe that what I'm doing, what I'm I'm advocating for, this is political, because even within human rights activism and human rights movement, we have a position, right?
Yes.
We don't support, and then we don't go through perpetrators, and we have a position, and then we don't want inhuman action, you know and then we seek dignity, dignified work in human rights movement. So that's why out like my advocacy, my activism, and my position is my politics. And so that's
Yes.
why I talk about political agency, I talk about political activism. So that's why we need to advance our political spaces also in policy
Yeah.
making, in transformative changes and action. These are important in the both in survivor-led movements and also in an entire human rights movement for justice.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's really a clear way forward, no?
Mhm,
That you actually need to bring politics back again to our human rights work, no? And
mhm,
I think without that, it will not have meaning, it will not have impact. What I'm worried about, and maybe that's my Austrian apocalyptic side, is that funding is extremely decreasing. The appetite to support human rights, rule of law, is less and less. So the struggle is a real one to win over again the
yeah,
hearts and
yeah,
minds. But we're in
yeah,
a bit of a cold time and age. But what I'm thinking is that we see a lot of shifts, but shifts could also
mhm,
bring opportunities, no? And I think
yeah,
victims are always there in that opportunities to show us the way, no?
mhm, yeah. I also believe that, transformative change is, inevitable, We all are, working for transformation, change, making some changes, and also making some, small contribution, in the field. Wherever, we work for, for some good reason. And so we all actors and ourselves, even as a human rights activist, we need to empower the entire movement for justice at local level, national and international level. And then that's why it's a, like a, as discuss a lot about Inovas, it's a, like a intercontinental solidarity, We need
Mhm.
to develop that kind of, uh, I mean, uh, intranational solidarity and all kind of these things, discourses we need to build, we need to produce some knowledge to change narrative. This is
Yes.
also building narrative, also very important that, so that's why we need to build some sort of strong evidence-based narrative based on our position. That is our politics. And so that's why we need to involve in political activism. And also, we need to create a safe and collaborative spaces for victims and survivors in need.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're at this time and age where so much revisionism is taking place, where basically denial of many crimes is on a daily basis. So I think what you said resembles a lot to changing narratives again,
Yeah.
to tell the truth, no? I think that's really at the heart also what we as a movement have been doing. Let me ask you a final question, Ram. Next 10 years, what's your hope?
I think the, whole, human rights landscape and the global governance will be changed. And then, and also mostly the very, the people, those who lead, and then those who produce knowledge and build narrative, they will lead. And then human rights movement would be more stronger and more humane. And then we can build a better world to live.
Yes, I think that's a hope I would share. And I want to also express my admiration and for you for your work. I
Mhm.
think you have been a really an inspiring person for me personally, and what we just heard now in this short podcast also for others. People should listen to you, and you have also been extremely active in the last years. To travel around the globe to basically talk and to be part of a lot of meetings and so I admire also your energy. So it was a pleasure being with you today for this short period of time. So I want to really thank you for the time you took and many more discussions to come, Ram.
Thank you, Thomas. And it's my great pleasure.